Hello and welcome back. Well, if you've seen some of my previous videos, you would know that I've been working on a new shed, which will take all of my woodworking and wood turning equipment and tools. And I'll show you a quick update on that shortly. But while we were working on the shed, we've been using the Sawhorses. As you can see, they're in pretty bad shape. The whole end of one of them has almost been cut off. And the one you see on top, well, my builder was standing on it and it almost collapsed underneath him. So these Sawhorses are not in good shape at all. In this video, we're going to build a couple of new Sawhorses, but not just any Sawhorses. They're going to be shop dog Sawhorses. Let's first take a quick look at the progress on the shed. This is a shot from the outside. We've got the roof on, we've got pretty much all the cladding done. There's a bit more to do. Windows need to go in with flashings and the fascias need to be put on and flashings around the roof as well. So we're getting there, pretty close to being finished. Here's a couple of shots from the inside. This is going to be a roller door at this end. Then I'm in the corner. It's sort of an L shape. And then this is a view from the other corner. So there will be plenty of room, which is really good because I got a lot of equipment that needs to come into this shed. Right, let's get back to these Sawhorses. And what is a shop dog Sawhorse? Well, there are actually plans for the shop dog Sawhorse. I did buy them and it has all the materials that you need and all the measurements and angles and everything you need to build these Sawhorses. The plans are $5 US, well, probably about $8 for me here in New Zealand. So not really a big investment, but probably saves a lot of headaches with those compound angles that you have to cut. During the shed build, we had to pull down a smaller shed that was in place, and I've kept the timber, or lumber as you say in the US, from that shed, and it's kiln dried and it's pretty straight. I've got it under some covers here. I've found some pieces that will work pretty well for the shop dog Sawhorses, so that's what we're going to use. In the center of these pieces, there's a few nails that need to be knocked out, so quickly do that. Then I'm left with 4 pieces of wood that I should be able to make the legs for 2 shop dog Sawhorses. Now the angles here are all cut the same, so that's including the top of the leg and the bottom of the leg. And those angles are a 10-degree bevel and also a 22.5-degree mitre. For the first piece, I start by truing up one end with the angles. Then I measure 32 inches, which in metric is around 813 millimeters. Once that's done, slide the piece of wood across, and then we cut that leg out. That's pretty much rinse and repeat. Bring the piece of wood across, again mark out 813 millimeters, and then cut the next one. Now when I said mark out 813 millimeters, make sure you measure twice and cut once. I made a couple of boo-boos there and was a little bit short. I've got this other piece of wood here, and it's not the best because there is a bit of a knot here, but I think I'll put that halfway up the leg and it should be okay. So I cut out the remaining 2 legs that I need. Once done, I have 8 legs, that's for 2 Sawhorses. And over here in the background you can see the boo-boos that I did, so I might be able to use those pieces for something else. Now I've sorted all of the legs into pairs, so they're outside legs and inside legs, and they're matched up there. And when you do that, just make sure that you have the bevels on the bottom of the legs facing the same way. I also put all the nail holes down toward the bottom of the legs here, and there was not much I could do about the knot, so that just is what it is. Now that leaves me a good area up the top here because we're going to need good wood to drill our pivot hole. The plans come with these 2 templates. There's one for the outside leg and one for the inside leg. Those get cut out and put onto the top of the piece of wood there. Now there's fold lines here, and that's so it can wrap around the wood and be in the right position. We're cutting out this notch here, and we'll also need to drill our pivot hole. So I'll start by cutting out the templates. I won't bore you too much, so I'll fast forward this. The template is folded on the fold lines and then put on the piece of wood, and this is the area that we need to cut out. Now this again is a compound angle. So we're set up on my compound miter saw again. This time we're using 22.5 degrees on the bevel and we're using 10 degrees on the miter. You'll notice that I have this piece of wood in the back, that's to support the cut, and I've also set the stop so that I only cut down to the bottom of the line there. All of the legs that have been marked out are cut like this, and as you can see here, the saw cuts just down to the bottom of that line there. All of the legs have this compound angle cut now. Now this other line here is just a straight cut, so I'll do that on the bandsaw later. But first we need to bring back our template because we need to mark out our pivot hole. So pretty much just put the template back on, and I'm using a nail here. Give it a bit of a tap to make a mark, and then what I like to do is just come back and circle that hole with a pencil so I can see it clearly and don't get it mixed up with some other hole in the wood. Now this next line here is just a vertical cut, so that's done on the bandsaw, and I run through all 8 of the legs here the same way on the bandsaw, and that worked out pretty good. The final step for the legs is to drill this hole for the pivot bolt. Now this is a brad point drill bit, it's a 10mm. We're metric here in New Zealand, so I'm using M10 coach bolts that'll go through here. That's the M10 coach bolt there, 120mm long, goes through the hole, and this is the outside leg. We put a couple of washers in the middle, and then the inside leg is put in, and another washer, and then a nylock nut, and that stops it coming undone. Now we've got to give that a whack down so it goes into the wood and it stops that end from spinning. And I eventually tighten this up, and then that works pretty good. So that's our first one done. I do all the rest the same, and there are the 4 legs for the 2 sawhorses. The next step is to cut out all of the braces, and these are cut at a miter of 10 degrees. I turn this over and I see a big ugly piece, so I cut that piece off. Now I turn it over and I get the tape measure, and we're measuring 36 inches here, and then we cut the other end, and then again turn it over, measure another 36 inches and cut that one there. Now these 4x2s are quite chunky, so I thought I'd do a 45-degree cut on the corner here, and that should be a little bit better aesthetically. Next we need to measure up 6 inches from the longest point of the leg, and luckily I have a ruler that's got inches on it, and then I'm using a bevel gauge here, and this is set to 10 degrees, so it's the same angle as the bottom of the legs there. The bottom brace is then screwed on. I pre-drill some holes in there before I put the screws in. And just make sure everything is all lined up before screwing them in. Now we're on the other side, and again we pre-drill the holes and screw in, but make sure you screw into the matching leg that you did on the other side. Now we're up the top end, and we measure 16 inches from the top of the bottom brace, and this is the top of the top brace. So again, same process. Yep, get it in the right place, and we put a screw in this side. Then I like to go over to the other side, line it all up, and pre-drill and screw in there. Now this is important because this stops racking, and racking will cause your legs to not sit properly on the ground. Okay, so now that's all done, let's test it out. So we open her up, and we're going to open up a little bit more. and that does not look good. A little bit wobbly. Anyway, let's put the top part in, and we'll put the strap on to tension it up. And that should be pretty flat, but that is really wobbly, and I need to look into that. I'll come back shortly. Okay, I did a bit of investigation. This leg here is pointing out further than it should. I don't know what's wrong. Maybe the bolt hole's in a different place. But I cut a bit more out of here. So that means that when I use the blue strap and tighten it up, it will pull that leg in a little bit more. So again, I put the top part in and I tighten that up. And that is a lot better. Still a little wobble there. If I stand on it, that wobble's gone. So I think that's pretty good. Now those 4x2s on that first Sawhorse were quite chunky. I found some box corners that I pulled apart and I used them here on this Sawhorse. And this Sawhorse is absolutely flat. There's no movement in it at all. So this one here is quite good. So there you go, 2 shop dog Sawhorses complete, and I'm pretty happy with the outcome on these. Now the strap can be loosened off and then the Sawhorse pulled out a bit, and this piece can be taken out. This is sacrificial, so if you've got it in here and you're cutting with your skill saw, you can cut into this piece and then just put a new piece in here later on. So no problem with that. That's quite versatile. You could make up another piece that fits in here. Maybe this board is screwed on top for a wider platform. So a whole bunch of different ways and options of using these Sawhorses with this top piece. Another feature of this Sawhorse is that it's foldable and it can hang up on the wall. Typically you'll have something like some French cleats or something like that. I've just temporarily put some nails in the nog here. Not very secure, but it's just a demonstration. And in this shot here, you can also see that I've strapped on the top part of the Sawhorse, the sacrificial piece, and that is strapped onto the bottom brace. So it's all complete, and you just take it to wherever you need to use it and then assemble it up there. Now, just before we go, I did actually start making this video probably 3 or 4 weeks ago. So I have actually got some updates of the shed, and we've done a bit more progress on it. Here's a couple of photos of the shed. You can see here we've got the shed painted. There's also a window in this shot as well, and we can see the door there. We have our fascias up. So we're getting very, very close to having the shed finished. Well, that's the video complete. I hope everyone has a great day, and once again, thanks for watching.